Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's 4:30 on March 13th, 2014. We're going to take a look at the chart after I remind you that the website and this video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in this video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a look. First thing I want to do is take a look at an hourly chart, because where we ended up today really calls for a close examination of our neckline to this inverted head and shoulders pattern that's got this little short right shoulder here. Because we came down pretty hard today. Interesting day. I got killed today, by the way. I've got some biotechs just got beat up pretty big today, and I suffered from that. But let's take a look and first really closely establish this neckline. I had it pretty good before, but what I'm going to do is we're looking, here's our dip of the left shoulder, then we come up, then we do our head. I'm going to go ahead and go with basically this and this as an average, as opposed to this little guy right here. And then coming across to the end of the head, I'm using this point right here, which is before we dip down into what may be that little short right shoulder. If we extend that line out and then we zoom in on it just a little bit, you can see there's that touch right there. You can see that we temporarily got underneath this line but closed just above it. And I know I'd been saying 1848. I'm going to just put a little bit of leeway into that, if you don't mind, because the line really isn't in stone per se, and I think that I think we need to give it just a little bit of room and not panic over that little dip that we saw today underneath that neckline. Now, we clearly broke underneath this rising support line. At the low of the day, we were at 1841, and at that point, that line was at about 1850. So that's almost 1%. So I would say this line has probably now been flipped, meaning what used to be support probably now will be resistance, unless we see another one of those days where something that spooked the market just kind of vanishes, and then we wake up tomorrow morning and the next thing you know we're doing what we did back here. I don't have any reason to believe that, but we've all seen that happen. It's kind of interesting to note too that we came right down to roughly the same support levels that were in place back in the latter part of February. Right here we had this little cluster at about, roughly 1842, actually as low as 1840 and change. So there's this little bit of cluster right here. Maybe that's one reason why we got a little bit of, at least what appears to me, a little bit of a bounce here. Additionally, we have gap. We have this gap right here from the 4th, which now has been closed. I'm not a big believer in gaps having to be closed, but often when they are closed, you do see a bounce because of the psychology of gap support or gap resistance. Now, if we look at a 5-minute chart, all I want to show you is this. We had been in a descending channel right here. Today, we spent a good portion of the day actually underneath that channel. You know, sometimes that's a sign of capitulation. So let's see. Let's see if this may be telegraphing a little bit of a move about a bounce. Now, another thing that's interesting is I made mention of the fact that it looked like we may have a little bull flag forming yesterday. And despite the weakness of this day overall, the bull flag actually did almost exactly what they tend to do. And that is, you had a move up to where it formed, and then when it broke out, you had an equal move, roughly an equal move out of that pattern. So I don't really think we would call that a failure of this little flag. What I would rather say is it's just this pattern wasn't big enough to really amount to much. So you see, we start back down here. We measure the move going into the flag, which I think is about right here. Then you measure the move out of it. It came up a little bit shy. We really could have gotten a little bit more out of that. But in general principle, this did about, it pretty much behaved. So, let me get rid of this little line. You see that when we started to sell off today, we did so, and there was a pretty clearly defined trend line that was showing where our the majority of our tops lined up, and we ended the day over this line. We also ended the day just slightly higher by a hair over our extended neckline of that inverted truncated head and shoulders pattern. So, you know, ugly day. I think the damage that happened today is this line is now in all likelihood been flipped over to resistance, and with that being the case, you know, we still got room to move up, because this line is going up. So even if we never get over this line again, ever, you can see that, where did that line go? Let me go to a 2-hour chart. Okay, there's that line right there. If we never ever get over that line again, then I don't think it's really that huge of a deal, because it's moving up at a pretty good clip. So we still have room if the market wants to continue this, and if this neckline gives us support, then we could quite easily move up underneath this line and still make some nice gains ahead. What I would be on the lookout for now would be if we fail, and if this line gives way, then there is a possibility that things could have things could have flipped over on us here just a bit. So I would say I really want this neckline to hold. I really do. Otherwise, we could be looking at testing some more support down here in the 1820s, or even right around 1800 again. And remember, 1st of February we were under 1800. So, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world. See if there's anything else worth getting into. Just a ugly day. Just a ugly day. Yeah, if we do get underneath this this neckline right here, then we may end up revisiting what we're seeing going on at this point. If we fail to set a new high at some point, and then we start taking out some more lines of support, then we could have formed, instead of this inverted head and shoulders, we may be forming a head and shoulders top. And I know you're saying, wow, thanks, I paid for this. Well, you know what happens. Sometimes you get what appears to be one thing. You'll get a left shoulder, you'll get the head, and then you'll get a right shoulder, then you get a breakout, but then it fails, and the setup of the failure becomes just the opposite of what you were dealing with. So if that were the case, and if we were seeing a head and shoulders top form here, I'm going to throw this line up here temporarily, then we could be looking at something like a neckline here with a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and if at some point if we ended up taking out this line here, then we would be looking at it likely, if that pattern did develop, we would be looking at a move to go retest 1800 again. But as long as we respect this neckline right here, I think we got to stick with this pattern. You think about it, since we've gotten statistically and technically significantly above this neckline, we have yet to come back and back test it. We kind of toyed with getting over it back here, but once we got up to the 1880 level, that was a clear break. And today we may just be looking at a pullback. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Not a particularly nice day. Gosh, I wish I hadn't been in these biotechs, but you know, it is what it is. You roll with it, and I would encourage you to learn something about your own psychology. To learn you don't bail unless you have a really good reason to, and the best reason to bail is because you've got profits that you need to protect. So I would say on average a day like today usually represents a buying opportunity. But let's just see if this neckline holds. If it does hold, then we had a buying opportunity today. If it doesn't hold, then let's see if we get picked up down here in the 1820s. And guys, just this throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into what I thought was happening. But so be it. That won't be the first time it's happened, so let's keep our eyes on it and see what might be developing. I'm going to make one change on this chart. We'd been looking at this as a descending channel and this as a premature breakout. I'm now going to slide this here, kind of widening this channel and extending this down. And I'll say this: if we get over this line at some point, then that would probably be a good signal that our selling, at least for now, is reversing course, and we're getting ready to head back up. So let's just maybe keep an eye on that. Guys, that's it. What a rotten day. Sorry about this little bull flag. Like I said, it pretty much did what it was supposed to do, but then that was all just wiped off the board in no time flat. So guys, there's your sorry. Sorry I didn't warn you about this video. Broke support, should now be turned into resistance. So it is what it is. Let's see if we can recover some tomorrow. So thanks for taking time out of your day. Can't talk. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this, and thank you for your support.